Sergei Pavlovich is expected to be the backup fighter for the November Madison Square Garden fight between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. Now, there's a lot on that, guys. First off, that makes a lot of sense. And it would also help explain why Pavlovich has been so quiet. I mean, his removal from the media has been deafening. Like when I hear Tom Aspinall, just by example, who's getting ready to main event or at least interfere within a main event this Saturday in Paris, and Tom lays out the roadmap to get to a world title fight, he doesn't include Sergei Pavlovich. And by the way, it's important that you hear what I just said. Tom laid out a roadmap. He didn't raise his hand and say, I've got the golden ticket. It's me. Like a lot of guys have done, and then just mysteriously they have been right and they think that they tripped over and won something. Tom laid out a long-term strategy to get to the belt. And it never involved Sergei Pavlovich. And I thought that was really weird that Sergei would allow the music to play without him. But if he was armed with the fact that he's going to be a backup fighter, that is one reason why he would do that. It's a reason why he go, no, I'm already covered. I'm already buckling down. I got the fireman from Cleveland, and I got the guy that got kicked out of a gym, but I'm sure he's got a hometown somewhere champion. And maybe it would help to explain. I just don't know that I'm convinced. The backup fighter traditionally has then become the guy. I could use Kamaru Usman as an example. I could use Michael Chandler as an example. I could continue to play that game, but I could also show you some backup guys who never got the opportunity. I could bring Volkov in. It's the first backup guy that I ever personally saw, but he didn't go on to fight for the title. I could bring Vincent Luque, by example, in. It's a backup fighter, but he didn't go on to fight for a title. There is an interview process that's taking place, right? Take the world of professional wrestling. You get to the arena that night, and you are told who's going over, who's going under. I mean, you're told who your opponent is, what kind of a match it is. It could be a cage match. You won't even know until you get there. It could be a coal miner's glove match. You won't even know until you get there. It could be a tag team match. You won't even know. And then when you do find out, you don't know if you're getting your hand raised or if you're going down for the 1, 2, 3. You will find out that night. Well, the world title doesn't work that way. Vince will have you over to his house. He will sit and talk. He will interview. He will get a feel for who you are and make sure that you understand with that belt comes a tremendous responsibility to have an engagement with the public. And if he doesn't feel that you have that, he won't put the belt around you. So I'm offering you, while Sergei is a backup fighter, and that's a meaningful spot, and I do think that he's the rightful #1 contender, but I know that fellow heavyweight division doesn't agree, or if they do agree, they don't care, and they're going to move on without him. I mean, I heard the piece that Tom Aspinall did. I know that Ciryl Gane and Spivak know that Tom plans to be there, and Tom plans to face off with them. And that they are all telling whoever will listen that the winner of that whole mess that I just laid out for you fights for the belt, when they know full well it's supposed to be Pavlovich. But they also know full well if Pavlovich doesn't understand what's put in front of him, it's not just an opportunity, it's an obligation. It's going to be presented as an opportunity. You need to, on your own, figure out that it's also an obligation. And it's an interesting position. And that is just one of my thoughts when I read that Sergei's the backup fighter. That's only one of my thoughts. My other and possibly overwhelming thought, how does that work? Exactly. How does that work? Does everybody get informed? Like, hey, Stipe, just so you know, the plan is Jones and the plan is for the title. If Jones doesn't show, you're still fighting. You're going to be fighting Sergei, and it'll be for the interim title, but everything stays the same. Do you have to get a yes? Do you have to negotiate for something that isn't even here? It's just stated to the audience that in such and such event, this is what we will do. And then do you do the same thing with Jon? Has Jon already said, yeah, I'm planning on fighting Stipe. I understand you got Sergei there, and I will fight Sergei, because these are generally done at the last minute. And heavyweight is very different. Generally, when you bring in a backup fighter for a title fight, it isn't just because it's this huge event that you don't want to fall apart. It's not. Generally, that backup guy steps in the event that somebody misses weight. At least in theory. The reason he's brought in is to make weight so that if one of them miss, it doesn't become a non-title, this, that, or the other thing. We can still get on with it. And when you're in the heavyweight class with two guys who are clearly under the weight limit, it does make you wonder why we went and got Pavlovich, unless we had information that the public doesn't have, right? If we within the office, who's been on the phone and has tried to make this fight and has failed to make this fight repeatedly, just as a gut instinct that one of these guys is not fully in, and therefore we need a backup fighter. And if you do have the backup fighter, which is clearly established, Sergei Pavlovich, which I fully agree with. But how does that work? Have those conversations already taken place? If we come down to the wire, and I get it, that it won't literally be a weight miss. Let's just use that figuratively, right? We're down to the wire. It's fight week. It's the day of the week. Somebody slips on the scale. Can we be confident that Sergei is going to step in and face the guy who's still left standing? I think so. I don't suggest anything different for you. I would just like to know from a negotiated standpoint, how does that work?